So good evening. Thank you so much, Ravi, and thank you so much, everyone. So I think we'll wait.
Good evening, Shaina.
Good evening. We'll wait another 30 seconds. We have people joining in.
Sure.
Quick start. So before we start, let me give you a brief introduction of this session. So this is FinMedium's first investor interaction, and it's under our brand new series, the Investor Interview. So this is a part of FinMedium's initiative to add another dimension to its goal of enhancing and increasing financial literacy and financial education, and widening the reach of simplified and crisp information to a wider spectrum of audiences. So to all of you who have joined in today, thank you so much for encouraging this initiative. And so moving on to our first guest in the first ever series, Mr. Ravi Chand. So I'll give a brief introduction of Ravi. Ravi has been a seasoned investor for the past 2 decades. He's an ex-banker and he's a financial blogger who writes under the handle Stock and Ladder. He also runs a portfolio service, which is called Accelerate, and I'm sure through the interview, Ravi will be enlightening us more and more about it. So Ravi, without wasting further time, let's begin. So first of all, thank you so much for sparing out your time today. And so to begin with, why don't you give us a brief about your investing journey and a bit of your background?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Shaina. Firstly, thank you very much for considering me worthy of being invited as a guest. I'm overwhelmed, and thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. What I will do in the next half an hour or whatever, I will draw on my experiences of the last 2 decades in the market, and hopefully to your readers and your viewers, I would add value during my interactions. Firstly, am I audible? The audio is fine?
Yes, it's fine. Thank you so much. It's
okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. To start with your question on my investing journey, let me just quote Napoleon Bonaparte here. So he said, only when you spread your wings, you would know how far you can go. So actually, when I look back on my investing journey, I pause and reflect. It is all not set of random events. Okay, it all looks interconnected for me. So I would put it in 3 phases. One is my education, my learning on investing. 2 is my practice, and 3 is the 3rd phase where I am now spreading my wings. The initiation part of the learning part, I am lucky to have got educated in what I could consider as one of the best institutes, Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, which has got one of the best libraries and best teachers. During my B school period, so I did my B schooling there, and there's a saying by Dalai Lama which says, sometimes not getting what you want is a wonderful stroke of luck. So what happened was, during those periods, I fell ill actually, and I twisted my leg. I had an injury in my knee. So during what happened, I was feeling miserable, and I was a reader in that point of time. I went to the library and I picked up a lot of investing books. I spent around 10 days reading all the investing books, and my interest in investing got whetted. Once the interest got whetted, immediately what happened was there was a paper on security analysis and portfolio management. So there was a chain of events which led one after the other. Then I passed out of the college of MBA. I joined a top private sector bank, and the circumstances made me that I was in charge of wealth management. Then I was into investing. The phase continued, and then in 2013, that's when, after let us say 15 years of investing, my friends told me that, look, you have been talking about good investing practices. Why don't you expand your reach and with a larger platform? So that is when I started this stockandladder.com, which is a blog of mine, where I wanted to talk about sensible investing practices. I think there has been a good traction and good interest in my blog, and very quickly I was on Morningstar, I was on the other publications, I was on Twitter, and I'm lucky to have a followers and friends in Twitter of around 25,000. So that's given me a platform for me to go to the next stage. So that is the next stage of evolution, has been that I have now tried to utilize my knowledge, whatever I've gained, to give it back to the investing community. That's where I have started this blog, and now the Accelerate Investing Services, where I want to inspire people to take sensible investing based on sound investing practices. So I will talk about more of Accelerate as we go along, but to a brief, this is my investing journey from my learning to my practice to what I am today.
Wow, so you really made the best out of all the circumstances that you were put through. So, so currently we are in a very unprecedented situation, I mean, since last year. So we have we're undergoing this pandemic we've never seen before. It's a black swan event. So what have your lessons been in this sort of a situation? What have your learnings been from this kind of a unprecedented event?
Good question, Shaina. I would answer it in a slightly different way. So Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it always rhymes. So I will have a totally different perspective from what you said. Yes, it is unprecedented, but if you look back at our human history, plagues and these kind of pandemics are not uncommon. So if you just, I'm not talking about centuries ago. Just look back at let us say 2000. You have got HIV/AIDS, you have got plague, you have SARS, you have Ebola, you have avian flu, you have swine flu. So pandemics have been there all along. Only the severity was slightly higher in this side. So if you just actually look at it, I will give you two examples. In April 2003, SARS broke out. The markets fell by a good percentage, and within 6 months, the MSCI World Index rose by 21%. Okay. Now let me give you one more example. April 2009. H1N1, that time the swine flu was a big problem then. Markets crashed. MSCI index in 6 months, it increased by 39%. Now, April 2020, COVID happened. And you know what happened, right? So if you just look back, actually, it is actually, all you have to do is read your financial history and be prepared. So I would not say that I've learned anything new as such, but it's more of validation of all the lessons what history has to teach us. So what I would what I would do, in fact, is something called a panic investing fund. Okay, so I would recommend all investors have something called panic investor fund. So once in 10 years, you have 2 or 3 events. So if you take the last decade, you have demonetization, then you had this COVID. So like this, there will be 2 to 3 events every decade where the stock market will behave irrational. So that is the time when you will have to have your corpus, which I would call as panic investing fund. And there's a definition of what I would say, that at those times you have to actually act quickly and learn your history. So I would put it this way, Shaina, that the COVID, yes, has taught us to be multiple things, but on the investing side, has more validated what history has always taught us. And as Santana said, that those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it. So it's good to learn our history.
Yes. I'm sure you're one of the few who's talking about this in such a sensible manner, because otherwise a lot of people I knew and a lot of investors in general did panic a lot, in the last year's crash, and they lost a lot of wealth, and they sold a lot. They did a lot of panic selling also. So yes, we need to be patient. We need to be calm. We need to have our impulses in check when we are in this sort of a market. But
absolutely,
to take your experience, to take advantage of your experience, how does a general investor make a portfolio which is black swan event proof? It does not really shake you up in these kind of events?
Very good follow-up question. Let me just differ again, Shaina. What I would think is that first and foremost, there's nothing called a black swan event-proof portfolio. Let me explain to you that first. Now, Warren Buffett famously said, if you can't see your portfolio decline by 50%, then you should not be in the markets. Let me give you an analogy here. Now, let us say you are living in an area which has got a lot of thunderstorms. Okay, hurricanes and thunderstorms are very common. So, what would you do? When you build your house, you take care that there are storm bunkers. When a storm is approaching, you will ensure that there are no windows open. There are no items in the garden which will fly around. Those are the precautions you will take. Now, when a category 5 storm hits your locality, expecting sunshine only in your house, is it a reasonable expectation? Absolutely not, right?
Right.
So when the markets tank, your portfolio also will tank. That is obvious. It has to happen. So if you just look at Warren Buffett's portfolio, in 87 crash, it crashed by 37%. In the .com crash, it crashed by 47%. And in 2008, it crashed by 51%. So even the best of the best have got drawdowns. So it is all you can do is, as again I'll quote Napoleon Bonaparte, he said, a genius is someone who can have average intelligence when there is madness all around. So when all the people around are being mad and losing their head, a person who has average intelligence is a genius. So when this blood is let in the market, to have calm and not to panic, that is the most important thing, what I would say. Instead of building a black swan event, yes, there are a lot of things you could do. You could do asset allocation, right? You could have, but internally you should be mentally ready to take quotational losses when it occurs, because storms are going to hit. You cannot escape it. So you need to mentally prepare yourself for that.
Absolutely. I think you wonderfully explained it very, very wonderfully, and everybody, even our listeners, are really liking the analogies that you're sharing, and I think a lot of people have commented how they're loving the concept of the panic investing fund.
Okay.
So this is something that you can really think of patenting later on as your own. So yes.
Readers of my Accelerate portfolio are aware of all these things. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yes. So, I mean, moving on, I think as you just mentioned asset allocation. So I think in all these sort of events, asset allocation or sort of a balance or rebalanced assets, it plays an important role. What do you think? I mean, how should one, what are your thoughts on asset allocation? Because I think that becomes a really integral part of this kind of, or your consistent investing.
Good question here again. Let me just step back on that question here. Before you go into asset allocation, I would want to step back the viewers and the readers to one step back. Before even you go into asset allocation, in investing, the most important aspect is knowing yourself. So Aristotle famously said, knowing yourself is the beginning of wisdom. It can't be more truer than investing. So what it basically means is, you should ask yourself 3 questions. Why are you investing? How much can you invest? What is the process you're going to follow? Okay, so why are you investing will give you answers about, are you investing for financial freedom? Are you investing for income? That's a dividend investing. Are you investing for capital appreciation? That is, you have some long-term goals. Or you have some friends, right, who are investing for fun, who want to learn. So there are all kinds of people who are in the market. So you have to have an answer for your question, why are you investing? Then comes the question, how much can you invest? But because the asset allocation strategy is what you mentioned, with no offenses meant, for a 1 lakh portfolio is totally different from a 1 crore portfolio. So 1 lakh you can play around with equities, bonds, maybe fixed deposit, mutual funds. But when it comes to 1 crore portfolio, you'll have to think about alternate investments, private equity, real estate, InvITs, REITs, gold. You have various other things what we need to take about. So to answer to the third part about is what I would ask important is about the process. Many investors, while retail investors, when I speak to, they have got a haphazard approach, in the sense that I like I saw this on the television, both achata, I will go and invest in that. So basically, you should have a process which you can document. What is your investment universe? What stocks will qualify to be in your investing universe? How frequently will you review your portfolio? How much returns are you expecting? What is the methodology I'll follow? So these three questions are very important even before you go into allocation. So how much, why are you investing, and what is the process? Coming to your question about asset allocation, you hit the nail on its head. The returns, there are multiple studies which have shown that it is not which stocks you select which determines your investment return. It depends on how much allocation you are doing it correctly. How much you're doing when the markets are booming and you are completely in a different asset class, that means you have completely missed the boat. So you first need to get the top level right. Then you need to go into equities. Then when you go to equities, you have to decide whether you want to go to direct equities, you want to go to indirect equities. Indirect equities means mutual funds and index funds. In direct equities, you need to then decide whether you want large cap, mid cap, small cap. You want domestic equity, foreign equity. So there are a lot of thought which needs to be done, and each of these buckets needs to give proper consideration before we have a proper plan, which I call as investment portfolio plan. What you need to have, you need to get it right. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's very well put, actually. So different. This is going to be a different dish for different people. Actually, that's
okay.
How it should be. And so do you mind telling us about your asset allocation? How is it on proportion wise or percentage wise?
Good question. So I actually follow a asset allocation of 80-20 at a larger level. So 80% is for my long-term investing and 20% is for my short-term investing. So I very well know that long-term investing, 99% of long-term investing is doing nothing, buying a good stock and sitting on it. But we are all men of action. We want action. So not just about action, it's about we want to have income generation also. So you just can't, it's very easy to say investing is like watching the paint dry or grass grow. So that's very good for your reading part. But actually when you see the paint dry and the grass grow, you will have mosses under, you just can't take it. So I do 80% on the long term, 20% on the short term, and within that 80% bulk of thing I do it on my equities and a little bit on. I'm a big follower of index fund, so I have got my indirect equity exposures on only one fund, that is my index fund, because for 90% of the investors, I believe index fund is all what they need. Because for all, the index has given in the last 30 years 76x. So 1 lakh invested in the index is now 76 lakhs. So with minimal fees, I know HDFC and all the AMCs have increased their fees for index funds now in the month of April. Even still with that, index typically gives you something like 13 to 14% returns, which I believe is fantastic considering the expense ratios into account. For a lot of investors, that is good enough. And I too have an investment in that, a very small portion in gold because of our traditional values of what gold plays in our society, and a little bit on debt part, that is on the government part of the PPF and all those things, but bulk of things in equities, yeah. And in equities, again, I have different philosophies. I have one thing for my dividend portfolio, one thing for my capital, and one thing for my momentum portfolio for my regular income, yeah.
All right. So that is, thank you so much for being gracious enough to share that with us. It's just just for an idea and, just to know more actually. And so to, investing for a little bit of income, and now let's get on to the Accelerate, portfolio service that has been your initiative. So can you tell us more about Accelerate and, what is the relevance of that kind of investing in this moment?
Sure. I will do that. Yeah. So if my experiences have to speaking with my friends, family members, and my alumni has been that you hear these phrases. I have burnt my hands, burned my fingers investing in equities. I don't want to invest in equities. Bank deposits are fine. I do not know stock market looks like gambling. So these are some of the phrases what you might hear. You might have heard surely. Now, now there is some truth in all this. Burning of fingers is very true. I would want to quote a study done by J.P. Morgan. So what J.P. Morgan did is, it did a study of 20 years, from 1998 to 2018. It did a study of the returns of an average equity investor. Okay, it compared the return of an average equity investor across and compared with other asset classes. How much gold give, equities, REITs, oil. Not surprisingly, our poor average investor came last. 1.47% returns. The other asset classes gave them 9 to 10x of returns. So our average investor made 1.47. So you could understand. There's another for your viewers. There's one more company called Dalbar Inc. So they have got an annual study called QAIB, Quantitative Assessment of Investment Behavior, QAIB. So it's a wonderful study to have a look at it. So what basically it means is that an average investor today loses money. How and why? There are two reasons. One, you take the biblical character David versus Goliath. So an average investor is like a David facing the Goliath. Who are the Goliaths? You look at the competition. You need to face FIS, domestic institutional investors. You have AMCs. You have algo computers. You have supercomputers. You have other smart investors. This is your competition. Then what happens? You have paucity of skill, paucity of time, because we are doing a day job and we are a part-time investor. So there's a time, capital, and skill shortage. So you combine both of this, David versus Goliath, and you have got your competition so hard, plus then the returns of 1.47 becomes obvious. So considering that, that is where I felt a need for doing something to educate and to give a tool to the investor to empower him to invest sensibly. So actually the Accelerate is just one part of my overall offering. What I would, my mission is to inspire common man to take up equities, to accumulate wealth through sensible investing. So for that, I'm planning to have a super investor club, which will have different portfolios. So Accelerate is one of the portfolios in that. Accelerate is for short-term investing. You have Accumulate for long-term investing. Then you will have screeners. You will have a forum. You will have insights. So it's a complete. It's an online club which I'm planning, which will empower investors to make sensible investing.
Oh, that is absolutely enlightening and wonderful. I'm sure a lot of our viewers today would be interested in this kind of offering and service. Where we are all looking for some sort of we get a channel, which sort of streamlines information and streamlines this very grapevine financial equity markets for us. So that I'm sure that will be very, very encouraging. So what is the momentum blue chip investing concept that you are integrating with in Accelerate? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I mentioned that we have 2-3 strategies what I follow. So right now we have offered Accelerate, that is the short-term investing, which is for your income generation, for folks who are working from home, or who want a double income, who want a additional source of income, and who want to have with the frequency of between 1 week to 1 quarter. So you want to have quick returns, quick wins. So this Accelerate portfolio is based on momentum investing. So to confess, I was also schooled in the value investing of Graham, Warren Buffett, and you can name it. So I was a value investing disciple. It was blasphemy for me to think that selling within 1 month or 1 week it was sacrilege for me. But then I read about momentum investing. So if you see, momentum is one of the basic fundamental principles of physics and physics of the universe. Laws of motion. Things in motion continues to remain in motion. So we studied that in our classes in 7th and 6th. So you have a super car, you go at 100 kilometers per hour, you press the brake. It takes some time for the car to come to a screeching halt, right? So that is what is momentum. So there is a momentum which builds up and it does not immediately go back. So the whole strategy is about exploiting the momentum to gain a short-term return. So you have something going at 100 kilometers per hour, you catch it at 60, and when it is at 90, you exit. So that is the whole idea of the whole momentum philosophy. So the momentum philosophy as such, if you see the literature, last 87 years, the momentum investing has given a return of 9.5% compared to value investing of 5%. Now, it might sound that I'm promoting, let us say, momentum investing. Absolutely not. The whole point is that we need to be open to all kinds of philosophies, all kinds of investing. What is applicable for each market? Horses for courses. So, which market, which strategy, what you should be doing. So, let us say I'm sorry, there's a power outage here.
No problem. Please continue.
Yeah. So what would happen is, typically would happen is that, now let us assume that you are following this momentum strategy. Now, the blue chip momentum strategy, what I follow, is a combination of 3 strategies by themselves. Why is it called blue chip momentum? It has got quality investing, it has got momentum, and it has got focus. Now, this is a framework. Quality, why quality? Because multiple studies have shown that, I can reel out statistics after statistics, but that is not the point here. You can apply momentum on different investing universe. You can apply on Nifty, you can apply on junk, you can apply on. So what I do is, I have a set of parameters which I call as quality parameters. So it could be management, markets, moolah. So there are different parameters which qualifies a stock to be a blue chip. On that blue chip quality stocks, I apply this momentum philosophy. And then the third part is that focus. Now, there are philosophies where you have got 40 stocks, 30 stocks. I'm a firm believer that diversification preserves wealth and concentration builds wealth. So I do a momentum strategy on a high conviction idea on a quality stock. So it gives me a framework. Basically the whole philosophy is like this. Even if the stock market is to fall down, I am not holding a lemon. The fundamental stock is very good. So I ensure that the stock which I select, it could be the good quality stock. I don't want to name any stock per se, but it will be a quality stock. On that stock which is having a momentum, I apply this philosophy of blue chip momentum. If I can, and just to tell you that we started this service to the public as such from Feb of 2000, last Feb, and we have an XIRR of 185%. Yeah, that is not sustainable. Nobody can say that this much of XIRR can be sustained. It's absolutely not. But well begun is half done. So we have around 85% of our trades. We have generated 25% of returns and more. So these are all in the domain. I actually share my portfolio within 15 minutes of actually making the trade. So there is no percentage of trade or something. The actual screenshot of my trade is shown, and then the feedback from the investors, of the subscribers, that honest and transparency is one of the key factors of the whole thing. So I actually share my exact amount I invest. So yeah, so it's good. But we don't know how long the party will last, but yes.
So I'm sure if you're basing it on both fundamentals and very sound technicals, it is going to last. I'm sure about it, because it is not just, it's not magic that is happening. It's based on certain formulas. But
absolutely.
So we had some questions on what you were answering. One of the questions from Manish is that in India, do we have enough back-end testing and data for momentum investing?
Good question. So if the US markets and those things lend to 80, 90 years of data. They have 100 years of data. So unfortunately, our index itself, our stock market itself started in the 70s, and you have from 79 years of data. So we have got only a very limited set of data. To that extent, we are hampered by it. But there are multiple studies which are done now for, let's say, 20, 25 year studies, which have shown that momentum actually works in India. So to answer your question, you are right. If you take a US study, research from a US institute, you have 100-year data, but we are constrained by our the whole index itself. The exchange itself was in 70s, so you cannot have a more than a 50-year, 40-year data.
Oh, okay. And well, that's a limitation we'll have to deal with, and we'll have to back that up with a lot of deep study of fundamentals, and going right with our charts, technical charts, I guess. And
yeah, sorry, Donna, just one follow-up point on that. The principles behind momentum investing are the same. You do not have data to backtest it, but the philosophy that things in motion continues to be in motion, or there are multiple studies which have shown that there are numerous studies which have shown that momentum actually works with a limited data period. Yeah, that's what I want to highlight. The fundamental principles are remain the same.
Exactly. So once, if your fundamentals are sorted, then even in the short period, that thing should be as effective, I guess.
Yes.
So we have another question by Mr. Gupta here, who's saying that while we try to follow momentum strategy, how do we protect our investment when sudden events like pandemic turn markets bearish?
Yeah, Mr. Gupta ji, wonderful question. So momentum investing has got a very, very clear thing that you should have a rule. So you should have a rule-based philosophy where what I typically follow here in my portfolio is that 20% down. So if it falls less than 20% of what you have done, that's a sell. So you can decide how much you can withstand. So if it falls below 1%, you have to don't look at it. Unlike you don't mix philosophies here. If you read value investing, it will be saying that you bought it at $1 at 50 cents. Now it has become 40 cents. Now it has become 30 cents. Now what was very good at 50 cents will become even more better 30 cents. That's good for value investing, but it is not good for momentum investing. Momentum investing is rule based. If the upside also. If you get your 10%, 20% return, you should be gracious enough to take your money and exit. Don't wait for 5 rupees more, 10 rupees more, 2% more. No. Keep a clear thing. You made to 15% upside, 20% downside. You have a time frame. Rule based, you come out so that there will be some trades where you will the stock will continue to rise after you sold. Like it happened for me with Lalpath Labs. I exited at 2,800, but it is going at 3,200 now. But I'm pretty comfortable with it because I know the readers of the subscribers accelerator will know that we entered the stock at 2,490 or something. Within a week we exited the stock at 2,700 or such change. So we made 8% in 4-5 days, which is very good for a momentum strategy. But now if I start worrying about it went to 3,200, no, it does not help. Same way, as Gupta ji asked, the other way says, it falls, let us say it falls below 20% of what I purchased, it's a sell for me irrespective of what I don't look at the fundamentals then. Yeah.
So yes, I think that's a very good, that's a kind of emotional stability I think that is needed for making direct equity investments. In any in any time, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's a bullish or a bearish market, you need to have your emotions and impulses in place. So I think we've had a very, very fruitful session, and Ravi, thank you so much for all the insights that you provided us today, and we're grateful that you were a part of our first session, first interaction here, and definitely accelerate portfolio services, something that is really going to gain popularity with the kind of principles it is running on, and it's going to benefit a lot of general investors. So do you want to share any closing words with us before
Sure.
we say good evening?
First, once again, thank you, Shaina, for this wonderful opportunity, and it was really wonderful interacting with each one of with you. And the questions were, see, the effectiveness of an interview is actually as good as the questions. So your questions were equally good. So I believe your readers also would, your viewers also would have really enjoyed it. On the Accelerate part, I'm happy to let you know that we'll have a special offer running for FinMedium readers and viewers. I'm giving an additional discount of 10%. So I will share those credentials with details with you shortly. So you could, we are happy to have members onboarded from your reader community. And it is more of, I would say, growing together in an investing journey. So I'm actually, once again, I'm honored and humbled for this opportunity. Thank you so much. And wishing you all the readers happy investing and a good evening.
Thank you so much, Ravi. So thank you, everyone. So as Ravi has said, there is an additional 10% discount if you go on the FinMedium store and get your subscription of the Accelerate portfolio service. So if you want to start your investing journey, so this is a good opportunity. And thank you so much for joining and staying along this session today. Please stay safe, stay home, and take care of your health. And we'll be having another session very, very soon. And thank you so much. Please follow this handle FinMedium on Instagram, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.